everybody, and welcome back to Finding Fashion. Today I'm so happy to be joined by Graduate Fashion Foundation with Nicola Hitchens and Joy Campbell, who are Communications and Special Projects Director and Director of Brand Partnerships. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Thank you for having us. We're really excited to be here.
No, it's great. I'm so excited to hear about all of the amazing things that you guys have got planned over at Graduate Fashion Foundation.
Yeah, we can't wait to go through it all.
Can you guys tell me a little bit about what it is that you do and what Graduate Fashion Foundation is all about?
Yeah, so I am the Special Projects and Communications Director. I'm Nicola. My role is kind of oversee, the branding, direction of the charity, and also our main event, Graduate Fashion Week. I also work very closely with all our university members and run a lot of the special projects that we do at the charity, which we'll touch upon later, but from everything from our mentoring to our London Fashion Week projects. That's kind of what I look after.
So I'm Joy. I look after our brand partnerships. So this can be more in the kind of traditional realm of partnerships. So our brand sponsors, I guess. Not that we ever really try and call them that because they collaborate with us in so many more ways. But also I look after industry, which is a really important element of what we do, because ultimately what we want to do is help our amazing students transition from education into employment. And to do that, we need the support of the fashion industry and the wider industry as a whole. So my job is to make sure those connections are there for the students and for the foundation.
And what is it that Graduate Fashion Foundation really does aim to do at its very core?
So we're a charity. We've been a charity for the past 30 years. And, our goal is to bridge the gap between education and employment. So kind of leaving university as graduates and getting that first foot in the door. We're bringing together fashion educators, industry leaders to support graduates, and really reach their full potential. So our job there is to, find that talent, create these pathways and pipelines, and keep the British fashion industry full of very interesting and amazing talent.
So 2021 sees Graduate Fashion Week celebrate its 30th anniversary, which is just incredible. And I was doing my homework and I read up that you've helped more than 100,000 graduate students navigate industry, so leaving studies and then enter the industry. What kind of developments have you guys seen the initiative changing during this time?
Well, over the past 30 years, there's been many changes from venues and the size of the charity and the event, all the way back in 1991 when we first launched and Christopher Bailey won the award at the time, through to now, we've seen some new homes. And this year, excitingly, for our 30th anniversary, we are moving to a new home at Coles Drop Yard in King's Cross. We also, are developing with the kind of the times and technology and making the event more hybrid and digital, which is really exciting this year. And we're excited to be, officially launching next week, but a new portfolio and event live stream platform, which is the first for the charity. It's one of the things the industry have been asking for, to have, kind of on tap access to scouting talent. So for us, creating this new platform was really, really important, and it's what we've been investing a lot of time and energy into this year, especially during the pandemic, to create a place where the industry can just scout from nearly 2,000 curated portfolios. So it's going to be a really exciting place to come along and find the newest talent. We've grown in scale and scope, and we also represent students globally. I'll touch a bit more about international later, because it's such a big subject, but we support international universities as well as our UK universities. At the moment, we have 38 UK members. That started from a very small pot years ago in 1991. So, the scope and the support that the charity offers goes wide across the UK, everywhere from Edinburgh, all the way down to Cornwall. So it's really exciting. And, for the last 2 years, we've been doing lots of new projects. So we work with London Fashion Week and the BFC now to showcase new talent during London Fashion Week seasonally. We run webinar series, we do regional tours, we do talks, and we like to bring industry, on the road with us right into the heart of the universities. So there is a lot of, new initiatives that we've delivered at the charity.
I think for me as well, like one of the biggest things over the last 30 years, and particularly since Nick and I kind of really took over the kind of day-to-day running of the charity, is that the charity really existed around Graduate Fashion Week. It was our flagship event, but it was really where all of the focus of our activities late, and that wasn't kind of benefiting the industry or the students. And I think all the things that Nick just touched upon there, like the activities of London Fashion Week, there are tours with industry. It was really important that we became a really important year-round entity for our member universities, the students, industry, because we couldn't just exist around a 4-day platform essentially. So whilst Graduate Fashion Week, which as we've mentioned celebrates 30 years this year, is kind of our pinnacle event, we try and do as much activity year round to kind of really elevate the talents that Graduate Fashion Week helps us find and uncover.
So one of the main initiatives, or one of the really exciting initiatives that you guys work on, is shining a light on emerging designers. Why do you think that, you know, graduates need, like, where do you think that graduates need most help in when they are entering the industry? Because it is so daunting going from being a university student and having all that guidance to then landing in industry and not knowing what the hell to do.
Definitely. I mean, I think for us, the main support, the main bridge is just getting their foot in the door. So, you know, finding, for them finding that first entry level, graduate level role or a junior role is always really hard. You know, there's not that many out there for everyone. You know, we have around 3,500 final year students each year across all 26 fashion disciplines that we support, but at least 1,000 of them are fashion design graduates. So there's a lot of talent entering the industry every year. And, you know, I think it's one of the reasons why we felt it's important as a charity to have our mentoring program. Because, you know, for those who are still looking or, you know, maybe working in another area of fashion rather than essentially, you know, their dream job career, you know, it's really important that we can offer that advice and guidance and guide them on the next steps. You know, I think, you know, Joy, you were touching upon about, you know, before about this, you know, CVs and applications isn't always, you know,
basics that often, you know, obviously the universities have a curriculum they have to get through, and you know, the real fundamentals aren't always a key part of that. And so that's kind of one thing, like the mentoring program really enables that, you know, what's a good CV going to look like, you know, what's a good covering letter. And I think these fundamentals are really important. And ultimately, like Nick said, the roles just aren't there. So we need to make sure that as a platform, when they are available, we're publicising them, which is why we try and work really closely with industry so that any entry level or graduate level roles we are publicising across our platforms, and ensuring that students are really aware of them, because there are not many of them anymore.
So you've just this week announced that you've got 30 new mentors which are signed up to work with Graduate Fashion Foundation. From a partnerships perspective, how do you even start to go about getting those brands, those mentors on board?
The mentors, we are really lucky. So, you know, when this year we asked the graduates to apply for the mentoring program, and we selected 30 for this year's program. And then we're lucky that we get the support of the industry. We get so many people come to us year round saying they're here to support in any which way that they can. So we always have a list of people that are prepared to talk or to mentor. But ultimately this year it was about really pairing those talents. And we don't just work in design, you know, Graduate Fashion Week represents any fashion related discipline. So the mentors this year, some of them were really bespoke mentors that perhaps really focus on a specific area of the industry. And so just finding those mentors that were perfect for those students were really, really important. But we are lucky that we do have this incredible, I mean, don't forget, we've been here for 30 years. So many people in the industry, once upon a time, whether it's 5 years, 10 years or 20 years ago, probably came through the Graduate Fashion Week program, and therefore have a real empathy and real kind of love for what it can do. So they're always there to support. So it's not always a difficult ask, if I'm honest.
Well, and it's such a nice job to have. I think, you know, one of the things that I love most about my job is, you know, working with students and young people is really helping them and mentoring them through. And I think, if anything, that's the best part of the job, to see them succeed. So you guys, you just must have such a rewarding job to see so many people succeed all the time.
It is wonderful, definitely. You know, I mean, me and Joy have worked at the charity for nearly 5 years now, and even in those last 5 years, the success stories that come through, or people who get back in touch to say, oh, I got that job at, at Chanel, or I'm going to work over, at Gap or something really amazing. It's really exciting to hear from them, and that always, brings a lot of pleasure to us in our jobs in knowing that what we did, hopefully, was that first step, was that support platform in getting them that internship, or that portfolio preparation that helped them get that job.
So you mentioned earlier about supporting different creators and different designers and different students from not only in the UK, but across the world. And there's such a huge conversation at the moment around diversity, inclusivity. But I suppose what I'm asking is, I suppose fashion has long been seen as quite an elitist sport. But now the industry is really looking to support that, that talent from all backgrounds. How do you guys work to kind of really nurture and locate and really support that emerging talent that comes from everywhere?
Well, for us, it was really important to, to join that conversation. We've always taken great pride in supporting, lots of different areas. The support from LGBT to Pride Month, and all the way through. So for us, it's really important to join that conversation. And last year, we created the diversity and inclusivity platform on our Graduate Fashion Week website, which just shone a light on students that were traditionally marginalised by the industry. So it just gives us a really lovely platform to spotlight amazing talent from lots of different backgrounds in any discipline that they study. So for us, that was extremely important. We're able to share that through our newsletter database to industry, through our social channels, and it just gives us a wonderful spotlight for the student on the website as they move forward into industry as well. So there's lots of stories and amazing talent on our website, so do go check that out.
Yeah, I was reading the other day. It's just so inspiring to see. I was like, oh God, just seeing the success that they've had. It's just must be so rewarding to be able to support all of those different people.
And then this year for us, we have 24 awards that we run at the charity at Graduate Fashion Week to reward our final year students. But this year we've also created a new award called the Culture and Heritage Award, which acknowledges global race inequalities and disparities between different groups, and also the impact that they may have on lived experiences of people of colour. So for us, it was really important to introduce this new award and just let people celebrate their heritage and their backgrounds. So we're really excited to see what comes through from this. And from our conversations with industry too, we know that this is going to be a really exciting pool of talent that comes in that I'm sure will get snapped up and hired quite quickly.
I think as well, one of the things that we did last year around the awards in general was when obviously the pandemic meant that students weren't having access to universities and to manufacturing, we revised our traditional award structure so that it had a focus on purely digital deliverables, which meant that we created a level playing field, as it were, in terms of it didn't matter if you had access to or not to kind of tech or and any manufacturing kind of materials. It meant that everyone was the same, and so that the awards just were kind of celebrating talent, not based on means, if you were. So I think everything we do in a really considered way, whether it's our awards or platforms and how we use them. So it's definitely an area that we really feel that we can do a lot more, but we're doing a lot in already.
And it being digital, it means it does open it up to people everywhere it doesn't have to be London centric, doesn't it? Because there's so much talent like around the country, around the world, who you might not necessarily reach. And actually the digital age has opened it up to so many more people.
Definitely. It's allowed us to introduce a lot more awards for our international members as well. Yeah. We can do a lot more judging digitally, we can use Zoom. Even the year just gone in June when we did our traditional award judging, usually that is on site at Graduate Fashion Week. Of course, that was cancelled last year. So, we use all the technology to be able to interview over 140 students in 2 days. with panels of up to 40 industry judges. So it was incredible to be able to bring them down, judge them digitally with their portfolios, their work, and it was really exciting.
So I was reading that you recently partnered up with the productivity suite, Visualist, for Graduate Fashion Week, that took place in February. What can you tell me a little bit more about that that platform and how it works to kind of help up and coming talent?
Definitely. I mean, Visualists were a really exciting partner for us to bring on board. It's it's all about creative collaboration. And it couldn't have been more timely because we wanted to create this photo shoot for these 6 designers. And what's really important part of anything we do is including the designers in every part of the process, because they learn so much about it. This is about the real life lived experiences of the industry that they're going into. And we were really conscious that in the pandemic, they weren't going to get that opportunity. And ultimately, we're here to represent their brand. And so collaboration is key for that. We were so excited that Visualist came on board, because actually what they did was they just kind of ran with it, if we're honest, and brought in the designers in such a beautiful collaborative way, from the mood boards for hair, makeup, to even having them live streamed into the shoot, so they could check the angles, the final looks, and every part of it. And this is what a good partner is in terms of our ideals from a foundation's perspective. They're not just bringing the traditional cash, which so many brands obviously do, but what we need more is people that understand the nuances of working with these talents and actually what's important to them. And what's important to them is having their brand for the first time as part of London Fashion Week portrayed in the right way, but also not just seeing the finished product. They've been there at every decision making, from model selection to the hair to the makeup, and it feels like their piece of work as much as ours or Visualists, which ultimately is what we set out to achieve. So we were delighted with what we achieved for London Fashion Week, and just delighted for the 6 selected designers, because I think they had in the midst of what we've all been going through, a really collaborative, creative process, which is the most important thing, really.
And it is just so competitive, the fashion industry, notoriously competitive. And I think the pandemic has made it even more competitive, purely by, the fact that there's less internships available, there's less work available, there's less jobs that are opening up. And I think when it comes to the design perspective, employers and designers, it isn't just about kind of having that that design talent, as it were, but actually having that industry know-how to be able to almost put like a commercial viability into your collection and building that brand. And that's quite a tough cookie, really, to deal with. How do you guys support the students to kind of boost that commercial success within those students?
Well, definitely our London Fashion Week project, which we introduced 4 seasons ago, so 2 years ago, is probably one of our biggest kind of design support projects that we do. So we take, when it is physical, we take a stand at London Fashion Week within the showroom, and we kind of interview for our applicants, students from the recent graduating year who really believe in their brand, and that's what they want to do as their career. So for us, we want to back them and help support them and give them that kind of platform to a global audience. So for London Fashion Week, that's just been a wonderful new project. We've had some wonderful success stories off the back of that too. In our first season, one of our amazing designers from 2019, Maria Esser, was bought by Browns, which was just incredible. Wow. Had her collection, it was just such a wonderful story. They met her on site, and they helped her as well. Like, they really believed in supporting emerging talent. So and Ida, the head buyer, is now one of our global ambassadors at the charity too. Wow. Everything from kind of helping her with professional manufacturing and how to turn basically a graduate couture collection, which is a one-off, into a commercial line. So that was just fantastic. We also had a beautiful knitwear designer, Hannah Stote, who Liberties was in discussion with, creating a range. So it's just really important for us to back those students or those graduate designers, emerging talent, who we know and we really think are going to be the next big thing. And we can follow them over the next few seasons. So that's what we've been doing, and this season we did that digitally with Visualist. So it's just really, really exciting.
We also again, we recognize, like you say, it's a really important learning about how to kind of design for a commercial line and take that kind of design skills into something that's actually viable as a business. And we're always recognizing, I guess, where those knowledge gaps lay. And last year, Nick and I were kind of really conscious, having done a couple of seasons with London Fashion Week, that there was this big knowledge gap in kind of how you get to the point where you can create this commercially viable line. And so as part of our kind of launch of Graduate Fashion Week, before it didn't happen last year, we created a day with UKFT to kind of bring in different manufacturers to help brief the students on what it is to work with manufacturers, how you work with them, just the things that when they go out into the real world, they'll need to know. So we do try and acknowledge where those knowledge gaps lie and try and address them as best as we can. But I definitely feel like, that commercially viable area is always a difficult one for the students.
How do you go about building contacts within like the commercial world? Like you mentioned there about kind of like Browns and Liberty, but how do you go about kind of partnering up with brands like that and really kind of getting them on board? Because it must be quite a big part of your job to boost those relationships.
Yeah, definitely. And like I say, I think we are lucky to a degree, because ultimately they all want to be at the forefront of the next brilliant things in fashion. And that's what we do. We supply this incredible pipeline of creative talent into the industry, and ultimately people want to be part of that, because let's face it, it's the exciting part of what we all do. They come and see these, the last couple of years, particularly throughout the pandemic, the levels of innovation have been just outstanding. And I think everyone wants to be part of that, because it reinvigorates their day-to-day, roles. And also it enables them to be brilliant at their jobs, because they're seeing some incredible design skills. So, it's always important that we have long-term relationships with these brands and these partners, because the more we understand about them and the more they understand about us and how to work with these graduates, the more beneficial it is for all of us. But like I say, we're lucky, we're at the forefront of this pipeline. And also, like I've said before, a lot of these people have been through Graduate Fashion Week, so they know, they've been there, and they know that industry support is the most important thing. And I think most of them feel that now more than ever. I mean, the support that we had when we had to cancel Graduate Fashion Week last year, the amount of people that came forward and said, we're so sorry, that was always the pinnacle of our degree course. We're so sad that they don't have that this year. They don't have their end of year shows. How can we support? How can we come in and help on this? So, I think people genuinely want to be there, and it does make our lives a lot easier.
So you spoke there about really unfortunate that Graduate Fashion Week got cancelled last year. And obviously we've just seen London Fashion Week being completely digitised this season, which has meant that as a result, it's the collections are no longer just available to view by buyers and press, but actually it's opened it up to the public as well. How do you think that that's really benefited the graduating talent this time around?
I mean, it really helps bring profile to our graduates. It helps bring the UK talent to that global audience, which wouldn't traditionally always get to see them, if they were visiting just in February and September. We don't always get our global audience over in June, to attend Graduate Fashion Week, unless it kind of coincided with men's and the BFC previously. So for us, we cancelled last year in June. We managed to deliver kind of a smaller mini Graduate Fashion Week in September, which was just fantastic to be able to give the class of 2020 that kind of showcase, which sadly, the university shows were cancelled. And for us, we managed to deliver a lot of digitised projects with that. So a lot of live stream shows and live stream award ceremonies, which really helped open them up and promote them, as I said, to our global industry audience, rather than, a normal traditional event that we would have held when it's just the audience in the room. So us being able to digitise the projects, create a lot of live stream content is really important for us.
And you mentioned earlier that this season, 6 emerging designers were selected to be featured as part of your Graduate Fashion Foundation Digital Designer Profile. How did you go about selecting those emerging designers to be part of the initiative?
So for us, it's really important that we back and support people who really want to succeed and who believe in their brand, their label, their collection. If it's for London Fashion Week, for instance, but we also believe that in all different disciplines that we do. So for us this season, we've recently been running our mentoring applications, which we had many applications for, of which a lot were also for designers and people who said their main goal was their career to launch their own brand. So for us, creating that pool of people who already said that that's their goal in their career, running additional kind of panel reviews within the team and the board at Graduate Fashion Foundation, and then running a few further applications with a shortlist really helped us whittle down to the final 6. And this year it was really important for us to promote lots of different styles of fashion and commerciality. So you'll see that we have some really avant-garde fashion supported this season, down to more couture women's wear. We have modest wear, and it's just really wonderful to support lots of different types of designers.
So I saw that I was reading that you do really support kind of like all of the designers across accessories, textiles, digital communications, innovation. Like, is there nothing you can't do? Photography, styling, illustration. What criteria do the judges look for when they're picking the winners of each category?
So we, as a charity, we represent 26 different fashion disciplines. So we have 38 UK unis. We have 101 fashion courses across those unis. As you mentioned, everything from styling and creative direction through to illustration, journalism, photography, and of course design and knitwear. So when it comes to judging the awards for those, we work with really high profile judges to come in and do those final judging rounds. We have an initial round of nominations, which is the university tutor led, so they're already pulling forward their kind of top pipeline of graduates to us, and the criteria for them are all very different, but usually we're looking for really visionary thinking. We're looking for the next leaders of the industry. We're looking for people who have a goal, a vision, and are really able to kind of showcase that beautifully within their work. So whether it's our footwear award and it's people making incredibly creative stilettos or trainers, through to our digital portfolio award, where we're looking for an incredible portfolio that anyone interviewing them would just snap them up. It's so great. So we have lots of different criteria there across our awards. So
there's so many different types of career that have really emerged in the fashion industry over the last 10 years. I think years ago there was quite a limited range of roles, and now there are so many roles available, which is incredible for emerging talent. How do you guys respond to kind of new waves of roles appearing in the industry?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you'll see over the last 8 to 10 years, we've really diversified the awards we have on offer, and that really is to reflect the changing industry. Of course, there is an awareness of the roles out there. That's really important for us to bring. So that's what we always try and reflect in our talks and our mentoring, so that we're always bringing kind of new ways of thinking, new opportunities to the forefront of what we can offer the students. And so we can prepare people from all backgrounds. So everything that we do, whether it's the awards, mentoring, everything is to kind of really reflect that changing industry.
I think seeing the change in the social media roles within industry and the importance of the digital teams within brands now, that was why we introduced the new Fashion Media Award. Our marketing and communications awards are always really highly sought after to find out more about the shortlist, because of how much the range that they study at university. So those new kind of digital social projects and courses are really important for us, and the industry is looking out for the next big thing.
Mm-hmm. Is there a way that you kind of work with universities to really respond to kind of what is being taught within universities, and how you guys respond as a result?
I think also, I mean, for us, you know, there's been a big change in the last few years over, you know, anything from, for instance, gender fluid collections to sustainability being, you know, just part of the kind of core curriculum. So there's lots of changes. There's new courses that are added each year. You know, this year, for instance, there was international fashion business being added. We've got a lot more fashion marketing courses that have popped up at universities. So it's really exciting to see kind of what everyone brings. There's also some more niche courses. We have a handful of fashion buying, fashion image making. So you really know that students studying on those courses are going to, you know, really be, you know, taught, you know, the key skills of those areas that will support our industry.
So you also partner up with a lot of brands within industry, from Size, Givenchy, TikTok, I was reading about the other day, which is a new one, and L'Oreal. What is the process like when you're signing sponsors, and how do those partners really benefit graduates?
So the process is always really varied. You know, we work with brands in a variety of ways, but ultimately it has to be the benefit of the students. So, you know, one of our principal partner, too, we've been with for years now, they always take 2 students for a scholarship, and they really integrate them into their business. You know, they are a key part of the design team, and they actually translate their final year collection into a commercial line in store that is then retail, but they're part of every part of that process, from the design through to the swing tags. They go out to see the manufacturing. So there's people like which they're more than a partner. They're really there to support that talent, and they're really there to add something. And what then happens is that becomes a case study for other students to see how you can kind of transition into an industry that really kind of support you, because, you know, not all employment opportunities are going to be as rewarding and as rounded. And I think the more you can support the positive stories, the more that people can perhaps see the situations that aren't as positive, shall we say. TikTok were another brilliant example of a brand that just came to support. You know, we went to them and said, we've had to shut down Graduate Fashion Week. We've got a load of creative people at home. We want to inspire. We want to bring back joy. We want to innovate. How are we going to do this? Have you got any ideas? And they were like, yeah, sure. Do you want to create a commercial line for us for our merchandise? And we were like, yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, that would be incredible. And they said, right, well, they should do it all. They should come to the factory and they manufacture and they learn, and they, you know, again, they saw these talents as more than just an output. They saw them as a process, and that they could actually add to their education and add to their experience and add to their, I guess, viability in terms of employment. So, you know, TikTok's another great example of a brand that are really there to support and nurture.
Right. So recently, we mentioned earlier that you guys this week have just announced your new range of ambassadors that you've got working with you. And in the past, your ambassadors and your mentors, and in the past, you've worked with some really big name brands, including like Victoria Beckham, Vivienne Westwood, Nick Knight, Zandra Rhodes. What kind of support do such high profile designers offer the charity and the graduates?
We're so lucky to have such amazing patrons and ambassadors supporting the charity. We've got 7 amazing patrons. Some of you mentioned there, Victoria Beckham, Nick Knight, Christopher Bailey, who was our first ever winner of our Gold Award, and also international patrons, so Nadia Shrosky and Dan van Versenberg, all the way through to our 20 global ambassadors. We had lots of new ones join late last year, which was really exciting. And, you know, they really all offer a very different, you know, support year round, but in different capacities. So from joining us at our judging panels in the summer, you know, on site, they're there to, you know, review and interview students, offer advice and guidance, through to doing some of the talks, workshops and webinars that we also run. We've had some of them join us on the road and go out to universities. People have joined us in a recent webinar series. A lot of them have joined us this season in our mentoring program. So they're all there to support, you know, what we do with our projects, but also they are amazing ambassadors for the charity when they're out in the industry, you know, they're always mentioning us, talking about us and their work with us, and that's always amazing support, you know, for spreading the word of what we do, but also just getting more industry involved with us.
So the fashion industry, in my personal opinion, has been, and it's something that has been largely reported on in the news, has been seriously overlooked in comparison to other industries in the, you know, the Brexit deal. Despite the fact that, and I was reading, correct me if I'm wrong, the industry is worth £26 billion, which is insane. How do you think that Graduate Fashion Foundation and Graduate Fashion Week are kind of working to cement the recognition of the fashion industry in the UK?
Well, you know, there's some really big and very important conversations going on in the industry, you know, leading the way with the British Fashion Council and lots of other governmental kind of supporters, which is really important to see. So for us, you know, the British fashion industry kind of is at the forefront of innovation. And, you know, Graduate Fashion Week is full of innovation. So what comes through us and through our pipeline is the, you know, innovation at its strongest. It's at a graduate level, it's untapped, you know, it's not, you know, altered by anything. So for us, you know, our role is really to continue shining the light on that innovation that the UK is known for, and to ensure that that pipeline is strong, and that we keep feeding graduate talent into that, which will, you know, support the industry in the future, but also help, you know, the UK as a whole be known around the world.
Yeah.
And the international showcase at Graduate Fashion Week, you work with universities from leading design schools around the world, which is just incredible and so inspiring to see. What kind of international opportunities did that kind of initiative offer? Because you mentioned that you work with people all around the world.
Yeah. So our international element of the event has been running for the last 10 years. And it's just been incredible to see people join. You know, 10 years ago, we started with 5 universities. In 2019, our last kind of biggest Graduate Fashion Week, we had nearly 50. So it's absolutely incredible. But we are the biggest showcase of BA talent in the world. No other market in the world has a platform like this. And so the global industry, global media do turn to us to find that talent, and for us to showcase this amazing content to them, you know, to show what's happening around the world. I also think the international is a very special part of what we do, because when you do have that plethora of, you know, talent, of cultures, of heritage, of, you know, fashion styles, it just creates the most incredible catwalk show. We do a very special international graduate fashion show award, so one very special student wins this award, and it's always so well attended and watched. It's always one of my favorite parts of Graduate Fashion Week as well, and I think it's what the global audience are looking for. And it's why the universities come back to us year upon year to both, you know, get to know each other, to network, to have, you know, a showcase in the UK as well, which is really important to them. And then this year, with our new digital platform and our portfolio platform, being able to list international profiles and portfolios alongside our UK members is so important for us to be able to talk to global industry, because so often, you know, people might be hiring in Japan, you know, in Paris, in New York. And so us having students from around the world who are open to travel, but also maybe based there already, is really important for us.
Is there a way that you guys really partner up with kind of media titles around the world? Because if you look at any kind of magazine from like Elle to Harper's Bazaar, they have different, you know, issues in different magazines around the world. And all of those magazines are looking to feature this up and coming talent. And Joy, maybe you can answer this. Like, how do you work with those like worldwide media brands to show support for the designers and the creatives that Graduate Fashion Foundation really helps to industry?
It's a really good question, actually, and we've normally invited very localized titles, I guess, which I'm sure Nick will correct me if I'm wrong, and it's something that we'd love to do more of. I think, you know, us as a global platform, particularly as we move more digitally, is becoming more and more of a focus. So I think you're right in terms of having those partnerships more on a global stage will become more important. For us, it's always been about just supporting that global level, but also on a very localized level. We work really closely with local media partners as well, very regionalized, because we're here to represent students throughout the UK as well. But I think what we need to do definitely is look at those kind of bigger global titles and see where we are. Nick probably will know more on that.
Yeah, I mean, one of our global ambassadors is Sarah Mayno, so the editor at Vogue Italia. Apologies about that. Vogue Italia, and you know, she's a huge supporter of international talent, and obviously she's also the editor of Vogue Talents internationally. So her showcase each season from the international pool of talent is incredibly supportive, and of course very well read about as well, which is amazing. And for us, you know, we have a lot of international elements that we deliver, specialised awards, specialised competitions for those universities, which our international media do like to cover. And you know, I mean, looking back at the last 5 years, for instance, our Catwalk Award has been won by a university in Taiwan, and the Taiwan media just absolutely love it. And you know, it's you know, it comes kind of like real national news there, which is so exciting. So yeah, when we're talking, you know, with titles everywhere from America to Australia to Germany to Japan, we have so many different universities we like to support, and we work very closely as well with the universities to help, you know, be able to promote what they're involved with us.
I think I cannot get away without asking about how the COVID pandemic has, you know, affected you guys. And it's put such a huge pressure on the fashion industry as a whole, but with even down to like production slowing down and sales plummeting. How do you see retail recovering and, you know, really kind of creating more of a solid foundation for the designers and the creatives that are emerging into the industry over the next kind of 6 months?
I mean, for me, I think that, you know, we have to take the positives out of this situation. And for us as a foundation, the positives have been the time to stop and think and evolve, and to kind of perhaps be led more by the innovative work and creativity that we align ourselves with, but perhaps haven't always evolved with. And I think that's true for the retail industry. You know, we've, as a foundation, we've now been in a situation where we've been able to create more of a digital profile. We've moved the destination for Graduate Fashion Week to a new home. We've created more elements that we're really proud of. We've been able to diversify who we're speaking to. And I think actually 12 months on, we're in a stronger place to represent the talent that we do. I think retail is going to be no different. You know, if we all stop and learn and think from it, retail will always evolve. It always has done, it always will do. It just needs to evolve to new trends and to new markets, and it will look different as it always has done. And it may take more an online focus, but eventually it will evolve back to the physical. You know, we found it ourselves when we've been saying that we're going to be coming back with Graduate Fashion Week this year. First thing industry have been like going, oh my God, I can't wait to touch. I can't wait to touch garments. I can't wait to see garments.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's true for everyone. You know, the online can deliver so much, but there gets to a point where you want to touch, you want to feel, you want to just be with. So I think that will be where we are. You know, there's going to be some incredible innovations. You see people like DressX who are really creating this digital revolution, and everything can sit alongside each other. And let's face it, it's far more sustainable. But, you know, let's take the positives from a pandemic. We're all evolving, we're all changing. And it's going to be for the better good for us, our graduates, and for retail, the industry.
You've mentioned sustainability there, and that's such a huge conversation in the fashion industry at the moment. And, you know, there's so much growing concern over the environment at the moment. And designers are responding by producing less collections and focusing much more on slow fashion. In what ways do you see kind of emerging designers responding to that change in the market?
I think once upon a time, a sustainable collection was celebrated and, you know, promoted as kind of a one-off or, you know, something very niche. We are finding now that it is built part and parcel of their studies and of their collection. So more often than not, most, 99% of collections have a sustainable element, whether they're produced digitally, so with no, using software like clothes, so no pattern cutting, saving on paper, no toiling, saving on additional fabric, to the actual fabrics that are sourced. We're seeing students using dead stock fabric. We're using students upcycling fabrics. Last year, for instance, we went to the Oxfam Waste Savers plant with a lot of students who were looking to use upcycle fabric and then just reworking garments into their new garments. And then that's just with the design students. So if we go over even to social comms, marketing, promo students, their projects are so innovative. Their marketing campaigns, their branding campaigns that they do as their funnel projects, more often than not are around sustainability, kind of eco. It's just incredible to see. We brought in sustainable awards as part of Graduate Fashion Foundation a few years back, and now they're so popular. We have so many nominations for each of them. We have our Sustainability Catwalk Award, which celebrates the very best sustainable collection. But we also have our Considered Design Award, which will consider fashion awards. So any kind of discipline that we support can enter into that. And we see a really varied plethora of entries. Through to this year, a student, Sophie Parnaby, who also was one of the students we selected for London Fashion Week with her collection, won that award through her kind of printed, I say sequins, but printed kind of fabric, which was made of waste plastic. It was incredible. So the innovation that you see when we just talk about sustainability is amazing. And each year, it's probably one of the most exciting awards to see what comes through for it.
Mm-hmm.
I always love the sustainability awards because I always find the innovation just absolutely mind-blowing. And what I find most exciting about the students that we work with is they're going into industry and they're taking this fresh thinking and this kind of absolute focus on only creating in the most sustainable way. And they're the ones that are going to be forcing change. And I feel like the brands that are open to listening, and I think more and more are, again, I'm just going to mention two because I think it was 2018, their scholarship winner had created this beautiful collection. It was all about sustainability and denim in particular. And, she went to work at essentially a supermarket brand who were not known for sustainability in terms of supermarket brands in general. And what she found was this concern about how to replicate something that came from such a sustainable ethos. Was just listened to. Two were incredible. They listened to her in terms of every part of the process, from sending her out to the manufacturing facility so that she could see what was happening. She suggested changes. They made those changes. To the packing and distribution, she looked at the supply chain. Again, she suggested changes. They listened, they changed. And then through to the swing tags, she wanted changes made. So it's like no point in producing a sustainable collection if these elements aren't sustainable. And they listened. So I think, look, the future of the fashion industry is reliant on these incredible talents coming through, but also these incredible talents coming through and being listened to. And, it gives me huge hope for the industry as a whole that this visionary thinking is coming through in abundance.
So I was looking on your website and I was absolutely astounded by the amount of amazing webinars that you've got online with so many incredible industry experts. How do you work to kind of publicize those incredible resources to students and graduates that you work with?
So we've been running the webinar series for 2 series now. We launched it back in April 2020. It's exclusively for the member universities, both UK and internationally, of Graduate Fashion Foundation. But we brought them in, obviously, kind of to replace what would have been lost from the cancellation of Graduate Fashion Week. So at event, we normally run what we call the GFW Live Lounge, which is a talk space, around 30 talks. It's really well attended. And for us, it was really important we could offer that advice and guidance still. So again, getting on board with all the technology for us, launching the webinars was, the next best thing. And actually it allowed us to go from 100 capacity talk space to 1,000 students per talk. live, plus obviously the recording of it, allowing people to go back and watch further. So, you know, we promoted them, you know, through our university network. So over to 90 universities. They're always so well attended, and we also can use, you know, having more time to deliver more webinars has allowed us to address a lot of different areas of the fashion industry, you know, some more niche, and some, you know, very much more wider for students such as design. So we've had incredible attendees join to talk with us. Everyone from Rankin talking about photography, through to some of our sponsors and brands like YKK talking about, you know, zip application, and through to consultants and designers as well who join us to share knowledge. And alongside that, we also ran our GFW Live at Home Instagram stories series for more kind of mini top tips from more patrons and ambassadors such as Patrick McDowell, Teton Jones. So it's just become a really valuable resource for us to offer our members. We hear from our tutors and the university teams that it is part of their kind of, you know, their schedule. So, you know, when we have one coming up, you know, all the students know that that's part of what they have to watch that week. The recordings are really well watched, and a lot of people, you know, quite often say, where can I catch up, you know, I missed this one, and that's really exciting. So as well as showing them live, we also hold them on the website for 6 months, so you can watch the last 2 series again back on the GFW website.
And obviously, like, one of the most important things that universities have is the industry visits. So it gives that real life experience to students, which obviously in the last 12 months has just not happened. So something that started as a very short series back in April, still going, and will continue to keep going until, I guess, those industry visits can resume. But for now, that's kind of replacing them.
Well, long may it continue, because they look absolutely amazing to me. And I think at the moment, like, it's so hard for so many students and, you know, young designers and young talent to be kind of gaining work experience and gaining that kind of industry know-how, that initiatives like that really do give them that insights that they really need. But how do you think that, kind of in addition to that, students can really get that kind of hands-on industry experience whilst it's so hard to kind of be gaining those kind of opportunities?
I mean, it has been really hard in the last year and a half with the pandemic, of course, with offices being closed, with design studios being closed, let alone their own university studios being closed. So for us, it was why it was so important that we could offer things like the mentoring, like the webinars, to be able to, you know, give them that advice, hands-on, live from an industry member, giving them the opportunity to, you know, for the Q&A, for them to talk live, to ask questions that, you know, that you would be able to ask in an internship, or you would be able to ask at an interview. So, you know, we really work extremely closely with our partners and the industry as a whole to supply any opportunities that are out there to our graduates. And you know, as Joy touched upon earlier, that's, you know, that's one of the main things we do. We do get a lot of industry come to us with a role, an internship, a graduate scheme. And yeah, we take great pride in being able to provide kind of the best curated talent back to them.
So I've got to say, I now want a job at Graduate Fashion. So I'll be in touch. It just seems to me like you've got the most rewarding job. And, you know, I just feel so amazed that you guys do so much to support the emerging talent that is coming into the fashion industry. But for you guys, what do you think is the most, you know, rewarding part of working for Graduate Fashion Foundation?
Shall I go first?
When you go first.
I think, I mean, one of the things I like most about my job is just working with, I say, like, the young people, the young talent. It always fills you with energy. It always makes me very happy. Getting to go out to the universities to meet them, to look at their work, just to chat to them is so energizing and really rewarding. And it's also nice to work with, you know, young people who haven't yet had to conform to the industry or any brand expectations. So we're working with people who have a big dream, and they're reaching for that big dream, and they're doing everything they can to achieve that with their work and their collections. And having, you know, getting to talk to people like that really fill you with energy too. I just love that.
Yeah, I think that's for me as well. Like, just these talents I'm always astounded by them. And, you know, you see how much these opportunities and a platform like Graduate Fashion Week means to them. And, you know, I've always found it really emotive when you see them win an award or see them receive the accolade after years of, you know, graft in their degree. And I find it the most rewarding thing. And just, you know, I've done brand partnerships for years, but to be able to do it in a way where you can really, I guess, create change and make meaningful connections is just, for me, particularly in a brand partnerships perspective, really rewarding. You know, working with brands that are kind of invested in it, you know, for often, you know, really, you know, if you're just focusing on one student,
yeah,
you know, a lot of effort and a lot of time and a lot of energy, but they do it a lot of times for just the best of reasons. And to me, that's just such a positive thing to be part of. And, you know, just being part of this global narrative of creative talent is just incredible. And I think Nick used a really good word, energizing, because sometimes it's a lot of hard work.
Definitely.
And the energy is needed.
Yeah, at the end of June, when we normally hold our annual event, and the students have just graduated and they've had this showcase, they've had their personal university showcase, you know, when we get those, you know, thank yous of, you know, I met this person, and the excitement of, oh, I've been invited for an interview, or this person reviewed my portfolio, like those kind of, you know, quotes back to you are just incredible and make every reason why we do this job, you know, the main reason why we do it. It's just lovely.
Yeah, it's just so inspiring. So what can we expect next from Graduate Fashion Foundation? What should we keep our eyes out for?
We've got the big launch next week for our new website. So that's going to be the live streaming platform for Graduate Fashion Week in June. This year we have we're running it from the 12th to the 18th of June. We're at Colesdrop Yard, so there's lots of announcements. There'll be the talk schedule, there will be the live stream schedule. We have lots of exciting digital content this year, designer diaries and interviews. We have some really fun exhibits coming from the archive, which we're going to keep quiet, but I think everyone's going to really enjoy going back to watch what we got to show. And then, yeah, in September, we'll be back with London Fashion Week again, I hope.
Well, thank you so much for talking
to Hannah
today. I hope I did okay at, you know, but honestly, it's such an incredible opportunity for me to talk to you, and I'll send you my CV so you can give me a job.
Well, have you? Well, thank you so much for having us. It's absolutely amazing to be joining you and to speak to you and tell everyone a bit more about what we do and the charity.
Well, thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon.
Perfect. See you soon.
Take care, ladies. Bye.
Bye.